Hi, it's Gabby. Hey. I love that. Anyways, so I am gonna be vlogging like things going in my current life. So I kind of went over like the basis of who I am for my introduction video, but I thought I would like update on current events, if you will. And I will never name people's names unless they give me permission. But for the most part, when I'm vlogging on here, probably they don't want permission. But I have some issues going on with the active addict in my life and some family members that are in like quite a bit of denial regarding the severity of the situation. It's not necessarily the addiction itself, it's just a lot of blame was put on someone else in my life that was an addict, and they've passed away now, and it's just like almost the same things are still happening besides a handful of them. And those, like, it's just anytime a situation comes up regarding the addiction or a problem with the addiction, it's like never brought up. And, it's always a scapegoat when it's brought up. And yes, normally it's brought up in heated emotions, but either way, like, it's just, even when it's not. I will say that, like, regardless, a lot of this has to do with the fact that these people are involved with my children, my eldest especially, and a lot of it came from they've been in his life. He's almost 9. They've been in his life for 9 years. I haven't really been good with boundaries until very recently, and I've come up with some boundaries as of all the situation that happened, a huge fight that actually happened where I was essentially cornered in somebody else's house, and I don't have a vehicle right now, so I had no way of escaping, and my kids were there, and it was a fight with the active addict who was, drunk, and the family members that have issues, with it. And it just was like the family member that I had an issue with, they have their own mental health issues and they don't deal with it appropriately. And it definitely, like, I had triggered this person, and basically the alcoholic just acted like, a 14-year-old kid, and I became irate because these people are people in my life that I just have no control over. I've worked really hard for years and years and years to be able to read my body and use my tools to be able to calm down a splitting, which from the outside looking in essentially looks like a temper tantrum. And I was told they were called temper tantrums all my life, but in reality it's my bipolar splitting. And it's just like these people, the way they acted ultimately with my bipolar, these family members and my active addict, they are the reason I gained borderline. Like, they didn't know how to appropriately act with it, and they just like called them temper tantrums and threw me in a corner and just kept me there. No way of digesting it, no diagnosis, no way of helping me through it. And I'm one of the only people that have had really big loud emotions in my whole family outside of the person that has passed, which is my dad. And I share a lot of things with my dad, so I feel like these people, they really look at me in a different direction. But ultimately, like, he tried. He went into waves of like dealing with his issues, but he never actually committed. He didn't really have good support. Now that I'm a different person, I can see that. But I basically was led to believe to blame all my issues on him because of that. And now, because he's passed on, I feel like it's pushed on to me. And that's not saying I'm perfect by any means, but I'm definitely not looked as the person with mental illness. I'm definitely not listened to regarding how to help me, what's going on with my mental illness. And these people are medical professionals, so that have worked with individuals like me and in psych wards, and have, do this almost on a regular. And it's like, and that's what makes this even 10 times harder, because it's not even just you're my family, you should treat me different. It's you literally, like, on a logical level should know better, and you don't. And they don't take like any amount of effort to like look into my diagnosis, which I have said on like many, many occasions. Okay, way different thing. I had to come inside, and you'll probably hear my son being loud, and I'm not just back in his room. I promise, it's literally all the way in his room. But I have a trailer. But anyways, so like, it's really easy when you have borderline and bipolar to say something, especially when, you clearly have your moments of being a little crazy. And I've had my fair share. I've hurt them. My mania has made me steal from them, lie from them constantly. And I'm just gonna turn this off. Literally gonna turn it off. But anyways, because I was gonna say, you already get the phone. But So it's just been really easy for them to look at me like that. And it's really made a whole, idea of myself, be fearful of being myself fully, because I'm like scared of what's going to happen, and I've always been looked down upon, and like they're not the only ones that play, but they play a big part. And now being so aware of their play growing up, being so aware of how they treat me now, being so aware of how to ask for boundaries and then be semi followed, is just become really, really difficult. And it, normal me would cut somebody off until I could really figure out, process, adjust, but like it's hard to figure out if that's what I want to do. And I really think that the active addict in my life is NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, and that probably plays a huge role in the drinking and the conversations regarding it, and conversations regarding how I'm being treated. And the two of them are just so influenced that it just like continues. And I just genuinely don't know. I just don't know how to go from here. So it's just like one step at a time, one day at a time. And, having boundaries and holding them really strong. And ultimately, if they're not going to be held, then no contact is going to eventually happen. Another thing is my active addict has a huge role in my financial life that I have zero control over, because I don't have a vehicle until we get our taxes back. And once we have a vehicle, so much of that financial connection would change, and also my boundaries being held, because I would have a way to escape, I would have a way to leave, I would be able to do what I need to, go get my kid. And those ultimately always end up being the current problems right now, is there's no form of escape for me. And it's not like these people have their own tools. They don't, and it's there's no talking about it. And even after, there's no conversation about it unless I choose to not talk to anybody. And then it's even then it's barely a conversation. And now looking back, that's why I really genuinely believe that the addict has NPD, because in actuality, it's not even narcissistic traits, which the family members have narcissistic traits. I have narcissistic traits, especially being borderline and bipolar, and having personality disorders. It comes along with that. So I'm aware of those things, and I'm aware of them about myself, and I hate it, and I work really hard to try and change it. Obviously in the moment's a different story, but these aren't just moments. This is genuinely how life always is. And it's the I've done some research on it, and it's just there's no right answer, and it's figuring that out. And I've been so bad about Al-Anon, and I really, really need to get back into it, because I think that would be so much more helpful for me. And my daily readers, I'm getting a lot better about reading them every day. I also have a couple others that aren't necessarily that, but they're self-help books. But I really need to get back into Al-Anon multiple times a week, because it's just a lot to deal with. I really don't know what to do. And before, I would leech off the good moments, because it's your family, and these are these people that make you believe that they have your back, and in my bad times they've had my back, but in reality they've just housed me, fed me, and supported me that way. They've never emotionally supported me. They've never supported in a way they should have, when it was relationship or family issues. It was just, here, I'll give you your necessities, and then because I give you your necessities, you better listen to what I have to say and do what I do, and I don't care what you have to say. And that's, and one of my family members, they basically were a second mother to me growing up, not out of their choice. They, due to the alcoholics in our lives. And that has a huge role in our relationship now. And I have children, and they don't, and I know that bothers them badly. And the middle one, just avoided everything and got away, and thought that avoidance would be the way to fix it, and then tries to be mediator, yet they don't know all the details, let alone they're not around all the time, and still look at me as the same person 10, 15 years ago that was stealing, lying, and doing all this. And I played my part, and I still have had my roles even within the last 10 years. But the last couple of years of my life has been really intense work since my dad passed, which was October of 2019. I've done intense work because I don't want to be like him. His was essentially self-inflicted, not directly. He died from pancreas cancer, and his pancreas finally gave out because he never took care of it. But he was drinking a ton and not taking care of his diabetes, which ultimately led to that. And that was through depression. And now that is 100% because of the zero support at home. And he didn't really have friends. And it was just chaos. Like, I grew up with parents that were extreme alcoholics, but they were super toxic to each other and they shouldn't have stayed together. And it's made a huge issue in my relationship to this day, where there are many parts of our times that, like, I shouldn't have just let things go on a rug and I shouldn't have stayed. And, now I'm thankful that I stayed, and we've been through a lot of stuff and we work really hard, but, like, having my parents be the way that they are definitely has played a huge role in how I, like, perceive love, how I accept love, and my image on myself, which is already hard enough having a personality disorder, because you're like, is this mania or is this me? And I'm just really coming to reality of all of that, and it's becoming trying to process it in therapy, and it's becoming so difficult in my day-to-day life. But I've really done the whole one day at a time, one step at a time, and for the last week it's worked out really well. So there's an update on that, which is a big chunk of my life right now. And then just normal kid stuff. I have twin babies. They are almost 9 months old and suck at naps, sleep great at night, teething, growing, just had shots, so it's like chaos there. I have an almost 9-year-old ADHD son that I homeschool, and he's just a 9-year-old with a sassy mouth that's so triggering, and trying to parent like that is like so much harder than anticipated, because of the guilt that comes with it, knowing what I've been through. And, like, if you grew up in a trauma house and you're a parent and you're dealing with your mental health, knowing you're fucking crazy, and you have kids, and, like, especially kids this age where they talk and think, and, like, you remember so much of that time, and you don't want to inflict on them things, but ultimately, like, I don't have a choice. Like, I have things that inflict on them that I have had no choices, and I know what I've done to my son, and I work really, really hard to be open and honest with him, and really, really hard about, apologizing when necessary and things like that, which I now know, like, he's very mentally smart, and it's made a huge difference, and I'm really thankful for that. But, like, his mouth is just something else, you know what I mean? But it's not just him, it's all kids his age, and, growing up with rage and ADHD, and Josh has his own shit that he needs to deal with, and, his own mental stuff and it's exactly that picture of that, like, tongue of the guy, that the dad's tongue goes into the kid's tongue and how he talks to others. And, it's so true. And it's not that, like, we talk down upon people, but, like, how we react to things is what ultimately we fail at as parents, especially my husband. He's just very reactive, and he had obviously multiple sets of parents growing up, because he grew up in a house of divorce that did that to him constantly. So, like, he automatically does that, and, like, it's coming to realize, like, that needs professional help. My son came out. Anyways, but just, like, that's, it's coming all in the head now, and that's all the stuff mentally to digest and how to mentally deal with it emotionally. And our relationship is the same thing. It's like, that's the biggest topic, is the reactions to things, trying to get better. And, I don't want to be a controlling wife that says do all this stuff. I know in Ellen that's not realistic, but, like, both partners that have mental health issues need professional help if you're going to be a parent, and especially when it's things like this and causing damage to kids, and, like, there's only so much we can do about it, but, like, that's number one of it. So there's that. And that's the other thing to do. That's family, my relationship, my kids. Me personally, I'm trying everything in my power to make finances, which is ungodly difficult when you don't have a vehicle. And he comes out here again, so fucking ugly. But I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff on my phone, which I want to do anyways. It's way easier for me mentally as a mom. Like, it's just so hard for me to stick it out with a job. And that's why I want a car so I can DoorDash, because that's way easier. And I used to work for myself, which is just, finding a babysitter for these 3 kids is nearly impossible. Daycare is so ridiculously fucking expensive. It's stupid. And so, like, being able to DoorDash and get stuff from my home and work around my kids, is a dream. And that's why I'm, like, just working really hard on all of these outlets to, like, they will add up eventually. It does take time, but it'll work out, and I know that. And so, yeah, that's everything right now. That's all how it all is. Just trying to make it all work, and just here to be really honest, that's my dishwasher. But yeah, that's everything. That's just a little catch up, so as I future vlog, you kind of understand things. But yeah, I'm not gonna look fancy, and eventually I'll get like a cooler setup. But I need extra money first for that. And I personally will never do my makeup and I'll get crazy. I mean, if I do make a video, it's because I did my makeup for something else or was actually in the mood for it, not because I was making a video. That's just not who I am. So if you don't like all the fanciness, whatever, then not the vlogger for you.